What is a primary role of a lead supervisory authority, LSA, under the GDPR? A. Resolve disputes between data subjects. B. Coordinate cross-border cases. C. Issue guidelines for best practices. D. Propose amendments to GDPR. Correct answer: B. Coordinate cross-border cases. Explanation: the LSA is designated based on the controller or processor's main establishment or where key decisions regarding processing occur. Its primary role is to coordinate cross-border cases, ensuring effective cooperation between relevant supervisory authorities. What is a key function of the European Data Protection Board, EDPB? A. Oversee enforcement actions across the EU. B. Provide an independent judicial review. C. Advise the European Parliament on data protection. D. Draft and enact data protection laws. Correct answer: A. Oversee enforcement actions across the EU. Explanation: the EDPB includes heads of national supervisory authorities and plays a critical role in overseeing enforcement actions, issuing guidelines, and resolving disputes between supervisory authorities to ensure cohesive enforcement. How does the European Data Protection Supervisor, EDPS, contribute to GDPR enforcement? A. Proposes amendments to GDPR. B. Oversees processing by EU institutions. C. Represents data subjects in court cases. D. Monitors national supervisory authorities. Correct answer: B. Oversees processing by EU institutions. Explanation: the EDPS is an independent institution responsible for supervising the processing of personal data by EU institutions and bodies, ensuring compliance with GDPR and offering guidance on data protection policies. What triggers an investigation into GDPR violations? A. A formal complaint by a data subject. B. Routine audits by supervisory authorities. C. Reports from the European Commission. D. Alerts from the European Parliament. Correct answer: A. A formal complaint by a data subject. Explanation: individuals can file complaints with supervisory authorities, triggering investigations into potential GDPR violations, which can then lead to further action, including audits, warnings, and fines. What is the maximum fine for severe GDPR violations? A. 10 million euros. B. 20 million euros. C. 2% of global annual turnover. D. 4% of global annual turnover. Correct answer: B. 20 million euros. Explanation: the GDPR establishes a two-tier fine system, with severe breaches, such as unlawful processing or transferring data without safeguards, potentially resulting in fines of up to 20 million euros or 4% of global annual turnover, whichever is higher. What is the primary aim of the EDPB's guidelines and recommendations? A. Clarify GDPR provisions. B. Monitor compliance by EU institutions. C. Implement GDPR enforcement actions. D. Assist data subjects in seeking compensation. Correct answer: A. Clarify GDPR provisions. Explanation: the EDPB issues guidelines and recommendations to provide clear interpretations of GDPR provisions, ensuring consistent application across the EU and facilitating compliance for controllers and processors. How can data subjects pursue compensation for GDPR violations? A. Through national courts. B. By reporting directly to the EDPB. C. Through arbitration by supervisory authorities. D. By filing a complaint with the European Commission. Correct answer: A. Through national courts. Explanation: the GDPR provides data subjects with a right to compensation for damages, which they can pursue through national courts, including for both material and non-material damages caused by GDPR violations. How does the GDPR define a legitimate interest for data processing? A. Processing necessary for a controller's operations. B. Processing approved by a supervisory authority. C. Processing agreed upon by data subjects. D. Processing required by law. Correct answer: A. Processing necessary for a controller's operations. Explanation: the GDPR allows processing based on legitimate interests if it is necessary for the controller's or third party's operations, and this interest is balanced against the data subject's rights and freedoms. What is a fundamental role of supervisory authorities under GDPR? A. Issue EU-wide guidelines. B. Investigate and enforce GDPR compliance. C. Propose amendments to GDPR. D. Represent data subjects in court. Correct answer: B. Investigate and enforce GDPR compliance. Explanation. SAs are appointed by each EU member state and have broad powers to investigate and enforce GDPR compliance, including conducting audits, issuing warnings, and imposing fines. How does the GDPR handle cross-border cases between supervisory authorities? A. Requires a joint investigation team. B. Designates a lead supervisory authority. C. Defers to the European Commission. D. Resolves disputes through arbitration. Correct answer. B. Designates a lead supervisory authority. Explanation. In cross-border cases, the GDPR designates an LSA based on the main establishment of the controller or processor involved. The LSA coordinates investigations and enforcement actions with other relevant SAs. What is a key aspect of data subject compensation under the GDPR? A. Requires a formal complaint to the EDPB. B. Limited to material damages. C. Includes joint liability for controllers and processors. D. Available only for EU citizens. Correct answer. C. Includes joint liability for controllers and processors. Explanation. The GDPR provides for joint liability when both a controller and processor are involved in a breach, ensuring that data subjects have clear avenues for compensation. What differentiates the EDPB from the EDPS in their roles? A. EDPB enforces GDPR compliance, while EDPS provides guidance. B. EDPB oversees cross-border cooperation, while EDPS supervises EU institutions. C. EDPB advises the European Parliament, while EDPS advises the European Commission. D. EDPB focuses on member states, while EDPS focuses on international organizations. Correct answer. B. EDPB oversees cross-border cooperation, while EDPS supervises EU institutions. Explanation. The EDPB includes heads of national SAs and oversees cross-border cooperation, while the EDPS supervises data processing by EU institutions, ensuring compliance and providing guidance. What is a notable restriction on data processing under the GDPR? A. Processing must be approved by the EDPS. B. Processing must be lawful, fair, and transparent. C. Processing must be limited to EU jurisdictions. D. Processing must avoid using third-party processors. Correct answer. B. Processing must be lawful, fair, and transparent. Explanation. The GDPR requires all processing to be lawful, fair, and transparent in relation to the data subject, including lawful grounds such as consent, contractual necessity, or legitimate interest. How does the GDPR handle class actions for GDPR violations? A. Through arbitration by SAs. B. By allowing collective actions in national courts. C. Through mediation by the EDPB. D. By facilitating complaints directly to the European Parliament. Correct answer. B. By allowing collective actions in national courts. Explanation. The GDPR provides for collective redress, allowing data subjects to pursue class actions through national courts, often represented by non-profit organizations specializing in data protection. What is a key responsibility of the EDPB in relation to GDPR guidelines? A. Endorsing national guidelines. B. Providing consistent application across the EU. C. Drafting new laws for the European Parliament. D. Ensuring enforcement of guidelines by SAs. Correct answer. B. Providing consistent application across the EU. Explanation. The EDPB issues guidelines and recommendations to ensure consistent application of GDPR provisions across the EU, facilitating compliance and enforcement actions by national SAs. What determines the severity of GDPR fines? A. Decision by the European Parliament. B. Nature and gravity of the breach. C. Recommendations from the EDPB. D. Volume of data processed. Correct answer. B. Nature and gravity of the breach. Explanation. SAs consider the nature, gravity, and duration of the infringement, the number of data subjects affected, and the level of cooperation from the controller or processor in determining the severity of fines. What powers does the EDPS have in overseeing GDPR compliance by EU institutions? A. Amend laws. B. Impose corrective measures. C. Represent data subjects in court. D. Issue legally binding guidelines. Correct answer. B. Impose corrective measures. Explanation. The EDPS can investigate potential GDPR violations by EU institutions, impose corrective measures, and work with national SAs to ensure compliance across EU institutions and bodies. How does the GDPR aim to simplify compensation processes for data subjects? A. Establishes national mediation bodies. B. Provides for streamlined court proceedings. C. Offers collective redress through class actions. D. Mandates compensation through supervisory authorities. Correct answer, B. Provides for streamlined court proceedings. Explanation. The GDPR aims to streamline compensation processes for data subjects by providing clear avenues for pursuing compensation through national courts, including for both material and non-material damages. What is a key difference between the two tiers of GDPR fines? A. The type of infringement. B. The amount of data processed. C. The location of the controller. D. The time since the breach. Correct answer, A. The type of infringement. Explanation. The GDPR specifies two tiers of fines, with lower tier fines for breaches such as failing to appoint a DPO, and higher tier fines for severe breaches, such as unlawful processing or violating data subject rights. How does the GDPR protect against unlawful data transfers to third countries? A. By banning all data transfers outside the EU. B. Through standardized contracts and safeguards. C. By requiring data subject consent for all transfers. D. By requiring approval from national SAs. Correct answer, B. Through standardized contracts and safeguards. Explanation. The GDPR aims to prevent unlawful data transfers to third countries by requiring appropriate safeguards, such as standard contractual clauses, ensuring data protection standards are maintained.